You're watching.
Subscribe.
Hello, you're watching ScreenStalker. I'm Laurie Blake, and this is the movie news. Have yourself a little super click party. Super click! By hitting subscribe, tapping like, and using the old brass knucks on the bell icon to enable notifications. And don't forget to answer our question of the day. What do you think will happen in the final scenes of Endgame? No spoilers though. No spoilers, even if you've seen them. No spoilers. But first, earlier this week we brought you the news that Neil Marshall's Hellboy reboot had not only been trapped in 9 circles of production hell, but also that it was totally bombing at the box office. Thankfully, the film has a guardian angel, though, in the form of star Milla Jovovich, who plays the Blood Queen in the movie. She leapt to the film's defense. Well, not exactly leapt, she is definitely in bed in this picture, but you know, she said some stuff, she said stuff. All I'm going to say before going to bed is this. All my raddest films have been slammed by critics. It's effing hilarious. Dazed and Confused, seriously, classic movie. The Fifth Element, you would have thought that was the worst movie ever made if you read the reviews in like '98. Zoolander, slammed. Joan of Arc, disaster. Resident Evil, let's not even go there. Anyway, every one of these films is now a cult classic. Every single one, and this will be too. Mark my words. And just you wait until Ms. Jovovich stars in the Monster Hunter adaptation, because, my God, that film looks bad. It'll be a classic though, and it'll review badly, so theory still works. Something that won't review badly with us here in the ScreenStalker WrestleTalk complex, because we're a big old bunch of dirty marks, is Fast and Furious Hobbs Shaw. Because not only does it star every man's favourite human, the male Beyonce, Rock the Dwayne Johnson, but it also features his real-life cousin, Roman Reigns, the big dog, El Perro Grande. And it'll also play on the Great One's real-life Samoan heritage, having him on home soil, with his character Luke Hobbs fighting alongside his family in a full-on battle sequence, which is said to be laced with wrestling callbacks. Empire spoke to director David Leitch, or however you say that, who previously did John Wick, Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2, who said that the scene promises to be sports entertainment of the highest order. Jason Statham using the sledgehammer is particularly fun, but I have to say Roman Reigns and Dwayne teaming up as a sort of tag team against a couple of mercenaries is pretty awesome. It's going to be a huge treat for wrestling fans. I'm looking forward to when this one Samoan drops on August the 2nd. From big dogs to the biggest mouse in the known universe, because Disney is slowly consolidating every other brand in the world under their one banner, and their huge $71 billion deal to buy 20th Century Fox has got them control of even more of the Marvel franchises that were sold off back in the day, like X-Men and the Fantastic Four, which many thought was the main reason that Disney went out of its way to buy Fox in the first place. However, it turns out that that wasn't really the top-line reason for the acquisition. Because in an interview with CNBC, Disney chief Bob Iger said that the main reasoning behind the buyout was to bolster the company's lineup for when it launched streaming service Disney+. The opportunity to buy Fox first came up later that year. In fact, just a few months after the board approved us buying the majority share of BAMTech, which was done for one reason: to go into the direct-to-consumer business. Rupert and I sat down and talked about a transaction. We would not have done that transaction had we not decided to go in this direction. Because if we hadn't, we would have been looking at that business and through a traditional lens, oh, we're buying TV channels, we're buying more movie making capability, etc. But by the time the acquisition opportunity came up and we knew we were going in this space, we evaluated what we were buying through this lens of, wow, what could National Geographic mean to us? And the simple answer is hundreds of hours of pretty and pleasant television about lions lounging, gazelles grazing and bonobos banging. The exact sort of uncomplicated stuff that gets you through a hangover. And also The Simpsons. From the uncomplicated joys of nature to the complicated internal politics of Naboo and all of the other planets in the Star Wars universe. Because Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy has let slip that something related to fan favourite role-playing game Knights of the Old Republic is in the works for the Star Wars cinematic universe. She stopped just short of announcing anything properly, but did let a few little morsels of info out. You know, we talk about that all the time. Yes, we are developing something to look at. Right now, I have no idea where things might fall, but we have to be careful that there is a cadence to Star Wars that doesn't start to feel like too much. We don't have a crystal ball, you know. We tried a little bit with Solo, a Star Wars story, to see if we could do 2 movies a year and whether or not there was really an opportunity for that. And we felt that's not going to work, so we backed off that a little bit. But it doesn't mean we don't think about lots of different stories, because that's the exciting thing about this universe. Now, this sort of soft confirmation adds a little ring of truth to the rumour going around that Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss's trilogy could be set during that time period. Very interesting indeed. Interesting, very indeed. From one gigantic cinematic universe to another now, as Avengers Endgame has got yet another trailer. This one really ramps up the history of the MCU too, making the point that Endgame is the finale to a 10 or 11 year cinematic journey. It runs through all the way from Iron Man up to Infinity War, switching Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel to slightly earlier in the timeline, so it's not too much of an anticlimax. What is this, an endgame for ants? Nah, there's not a heck of a lot more to it than that, but we do get a couple of new shots we haven't seen before, such as Tony Stark in his latest Iron Man suit, replete with beautiful butterfly repulsor wings, and we have a Go Team! Fists in shot with one suspiciously large looking fist off to the left. Could this be Hulk? I mean, he's been conspicuous by his absence in the trailer so far, as he got that little bit of stage fright after losing a fight to Thanos in Infinity War. But from having seen some of the Endgame toys that are in the works, we definitely think he's going to show up again for the finale once everyone is in their quantum realm / space / team suits. Considering the fact that the film is set to be 3 hours long though, and most of the trailers we've seen so far have been recaps of the MCU with limited new content, most people should be, I don't know, relatively spoiler-free when it comes to Endgame, right? Well, directors Joe and Anthony Russo are hoping to keep it that way, as they've written an open letter to the fans asking them not to spoil the film for those who haven't seen it, which is everyone at the moment, except them. They posted an image of the typed, printed and signed missive, so that's how you know they're serious, on Instagram. Now it reads, "This is it. This is the end. The end of an unprecedented narrative mosaic spanning 11 years and 11 franchises. Please know that the two of us have worked tirelessly for the last 3 years with the sole intention of delivering a surprising and emotionally powerful conclusion to the Infinity Saga. We're once again asking for your help. When you see Endgame in the coming weeks, please don't spoil it for others, the same way you wouldn't want it spoiled for you." And then they capped it all off with the hashtag #Don'tSpoilTheEndgame. Because this ending is most likely going to set up a sweeping change to the entire MCU. I mean, for one thing, the main actors, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, all have their contracts coming up after the film is released. So, what happens to their characters during Endgame could be what writes them out of the future of the MCU, or at least moves them into new roles with new contracts. Don't really know, it's all very secret squirrel. Except it isn't as secret squirrel as it seems, because some vital scenes, ending scenes from the movie, have reportedly leaked online, which makes the Russos a sad panda. Hashtag someone spoiled the Endgame. There are, however, no spoilers here, so don't panic, you don't have to click away or do anything. I'm not going to spoil it, I haven't seen them. Because I can't actually personally verify this story, because I'm not going anywhere near Reddit right now that I know spoilers may be potentially on there. Like, I love doing the movie news, but it's not worth spoiling Endgame for. I'm pretty tempted to just have next week off entirely just to make sure. But while I'm not going anywhere near finding out what the spoilers are, plenty of big sites have been reporting about the leaks. So if you don't want to accidentally stumble on something spoilerific, I suggest muting Avengers-related hashtags on Twitter and staying the hell away from Reddit, because it's the Wild West. Now, after the leak, the Marvel subreddit went on lockdown while the moderators sifted through the posts to find out which were genuine spoiler-free chatter about the film and excitement, and which were ruining the ending to the film. I'm just saying this now, those moderators deserve a Victoria Cross for their services to geekdom. Mods, thank you for your service. I salute you. They said, Spoilers are bad. We strive to keep this community spoiler-free, and due to recent events, we must take these measures to ensure that. Until we are more satisfied with our filter's ability to weed out the influx of new spoilers, all posts will be subject to approval. Good on them, because I think it's okay to have questions and try to hoover up as much info as we can glean from the materials released by Marvel in anticipation of the film coming out, but actively trying to spoil the ending to Endgame, it's just not on. Because this is one of the more unique cinematic experiences we're ever going to get. When else will we get a film which is the culmination of 11 years of cinematic storytelling? Not from DC, am I right? Because I think it will actually be a long time before something captures the imagination of the general public like the Marvel films have done and made so many people so invested in the outcome of one specific film. So in short, stay safe online, people. Cover your ears, cover your eyes, cover your tweets, and don't spoil the endgame. Thank you for watching, and don't forget that super click party on the like, subscribe, and bell icons, and head on over that way for more awesome ScreenStalker content, including the plans for the next 10 years worth of Star Wars films, which frankly feels like a long, long time away. I've been Laurie Blake, and remember, we're watching.